All right, let's get into it, folks. Hi, Karen. Today we're going to talk about interfaces, and it's going to encompass a lot of things. Sort of a philosophical discussion, I guess, if you want to believe your boy Jimmy. I really found that emotional, that whole thing. But, so, what are we talking about? Man machine interfaces, the way the gear is interacting with you, and the way that the gear interacts amongst itself. This is the mini mad scientist creating and co. When I'm looking for gear, new gear, what most interests me, and you can say what you want about this, what most interests me isn't the tone of it and the this and the that of it's a modeler. You can find your tone in there. It's how the blocks of DSP are organized and accessed, and how deep you can get into it, and what you can twist and what you can tweak. Because for me, they're all just little pedals. Damn thing. They're all little pedals. It doesn't matter how the display is of them. I build huge ones so I can see and get to the old school, good old aluminum, metal, and copper and wires and bits and bobs. That's what I'm interested in. The circuitry. How does the thing work? How do they preserve it in the fake model? And why do you want a fake model? If you don't want a fake model, go and get the real thing. Want an amp in the room? Put an amp in the room. But if you're on the move, or if you're studying, or if you just have a passion for this stuff and you can't get away from it, having a little model is a cool idea. Why? Because you can twist and spin and span and do all kinds of stuff, and you can't damage anything, which is great. And you can get right into the crux of who made this, how was it made, why was it made, what was the history, da 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 da. And you come out the other end really with all that stuff locked in there, and you can bring it back when you need it. When you're searching for a tone, you can remember this thing did that. Check out JBF's videos. That's what I'm talking about. Dude is a computer. So what are we talking about here? Today we have TC Electronics Plethora on the bench. Plethora's remote management system, which is this iPad. You can fit on an iPhone, you can fit on an Android, you can fit on Windows, Mac, whatever you want. That to me is just wow, because I don't want to be stuck on a computer. This I'm always going to have, my phone I'm always going to have. And if I'm off somewhere, in a position where I'm chilling and not tied down with work and want to create music and want to create tones and want to find cinematic responses, or hear something out in nature that calls me back to it, and this is always going to be with me. That to me is the coolest of the cool. The sounds, they've been around forever, and the Helix sounds, they've been around forever. They're models of old things, so you know that sound. And this is where the gear comes in. How do you get to it? How do you get to it quickly? And how do you resurrect it? And how much can you tweak it to get you where you want to go in a hurry? And this thing works in spades. Boom. Because it maps. And if we compare the Helix, which I'm a complete Helix nut, but not a fanboy, because just look at the way it organizes things. You have a model, and the model has all sorts of tags, and they can tag internally within the Helix, within the command center, and a whole bunch of sysx columns just going on back and forth between them. But all of your knobs, your drive, your level, your mid, treble, fender, bass, all of that stuff is in there. And you can pick at each and every one of them and tweak it, and that's awesome. This is why Helix rocks, because you've got all of that. Your other modelers, you gotta have it, but how quick can you get to it? What I'm looking for is quicker still, or different ways to look at it. And in the Helix, take your expression pedal, you can map that to multiple things, you can change directions, you can do it. We've had this conversation before. And you do that, and a whole bunch of different things happen. But think of that as one-dimensional spider webbing, and you're controlling all of these little knobs. Fantastic idea. What does this do that's different? This is well different. It's the same sort of thing. Change an expression pedal or change a knob, and the knob is latched onto 3 different things automatically. You can turn them off, you can turn them on, you can put them in, you can change direction, time, speed, all that kind of stuff. But these, and this is the key, have curves. The Sonoos key, because the Sonoos volume pedal is crazily ingenious. Despite the fact that it's now got some age on it, it's bloody marvelous. Look here, just a knob that spins. That's from 0 up to 127, full on. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 handy zones. So divide 127 by 5, you get 25 point whatever. Within every 25, you can have a completely different thing. And this is where this thing comes in. You can raise that up. You can lower that down. You can tweak that, twiddle that, do all this stuff here. How long did that take me? Seconds. And doing that, moving that line, can be moving 3 knobs at once, on screen, in your pocket, in your hand, while you're at the gig, and needing to tune up. Do you get where I'm coming from with this thing? This idea of curves is brilliant, and let us change a snapshot in the Wii Helix Stomp, which we can now do with the command center. This is one of the many sides of the circle, which I was talking to Jimmy about. There are a billion and one things that can happen on that curve. So if you only mapped 5 positions, 5 Midi CC, and you started sending them, or even just 3 things, yeah? Typically 3 becomes 3 becomes 3. So you go to 9, you go to 27 variables in any direction off 3 fingers. Those 3 fingers are joined into one line, which you can then tweak to your heart's content on a screen that you have in your pocket. No turning on a computer, no nonsense like that, no bringing up editing software, none of that. Anywhere you are, that's going to work. Anywhere you go, that's going to fit in your bag. This, to me, is the crux of why the Plethora is such a cool thing. Does it have problems? Is it a first outing for this thing? Is it a new way of doing things? Yes, that is the point. And this is the point for the Euro QC. If you thought this was a Helix video, guess again. It's the same thing for the Iridium. It's the same thing for the Strymon. It's the same for all of this stuff. The smaller it gets, the faster it gets, the more it entices. But does it do that? And this is what we as users of these things should be looking at, not megaflops and cycles and gigahertz and how many models and this, that, and the other, because that all changes in time. That is a moving line. This is a completely better moving line, because you're adjusting all these things on the fly, and you can readjust them on the fly in the moment when you need it, and you're in control of your stuff. And you put the time in to learn these things, that's filling your mind with the whole JB Echo thing. What does that circuit do? What is changing this to? What happens? Who used it? What's the history of it? And all that. And that's where this stuff has got to go. I'm out.